Hello. Welcome back to Trading Weekly on Sunday, 19th of October. It's 1 p.m. here in the Eastern Coast. I say here. I'm not here. I'm in the UK, but it's 1 p.m. where you are, Kaye. How's
Yes,
your weekend been? How's trading been?
the trading has been was pretty interesting the last week, but I think it went pretty well. I mean, certain tickers, performed exactly how we envisioned, and Amazon, which was a ticker last week, even though I know that I lost that against Tesla, it did exactly what we were hoping Amazon would do.
Actually, you didn't lose it because I went short on Tesla and it went the other way.
Yeah.
So you won,
Oh, right, right, right.
technically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll jump into that a little bit later on, of course. As you can see on the bottom there, make sure you subscribe to Trading Weekly on YouTube. Obviously, we're just a couple of guys looking at charts. So it's not financial advice. It's just something we like to do, give our perspectives, etc. And make sure you put your audience requests in the comments as well. We'll get through the tickers, your ticker requests. Probably about 15, 20 minutes or so, standard procedure. Yeah, looking forward to it. I think there's a few tickers out there that have my interest for sure. So maybe we can get some of them up as well. But yeah, no, and massive thank you to Wolf as well for listening to the platform. Really appreciate it. I went out last night and the place was quite loud, so I had to speak up a little bit. So I'm kind of losing my voice slightly today, which is a bit of a shame. But I'm here and I've got a new microphone as well. So how do I sound, Kay? How do I sound?
I think you sound amazing, and maybe the folks who are listening to us, they can drop the comments and tell us how you sound. I think you sound pretty good.
Fantastic. No worries. We'll get started then straight away. Obviously, massive thank you as well from Man keeps popping back every week. Really appreciate it. We've got a few ticker requests there. We'll get to them a little bit later on. Thank you for joining us once again, Man. Look, let's get rid of that ticker at the bottom there and jump into the slideshow. My trading this week actually was really good as well. Had a positive week. Kept myself well controlled, and yeah, looking forward to next week for sure. Right, let's jump into the stream. Where is it? Here we go. 20th of October, coming towards the end of October already. Wow, Christmas soon, just around the corner.
Yeah.
Last week's market overview, we've got there's a few big numbers out there. You've got Nvidia and Amazon, both up over but down actually over 5%, which is incredible, given the kind of mixed bag we've had in the market this week. Google up 5%, contrarily. And Apple, Microsoft, Meta, Tesla kind of staying around that 1-2% mark either way. Anything jumping off the page here for UK?
Not necessarily. I think it was a pretty flat week because there was a lot more momentum earlier in the week. Then kind of like the momentum got derailed in the middle, and then kind of everything was flattened last week. Like things changed at the end.
Yeah, and also we've got earnings just around the corner as well. Which I'm guessing if we move on from this, I think is it next one? There's one after this. So yeah, let me look at this. We're still sitting in fear, which this time last week we were 31. We've dropped down to 27. It's a bit more of a flat week. We'll get into the charts in a couple of slides time, but yeah, it didn't feel like it was a fearful week to me. There was fearful points, of course, but people are just getting a little bit edgy, aren't they, in the market? So how are you feeling, like in the market as general, while we're here?
So I think what happened is we have been we have been worried, or we have been talking about, hey, September, August would be something that we could see a pullback to get some sort of a correction, so that we can move higher. Same thing we expected as part of the September month. Now October has not really been that bad, but there was a little bit of a pullback, and every time you have these tweets coming out where you want to have a trade war with China, you don't want to have a trade war with China, market is like, what's happening? And also, don't forget that because of the government shutdown from the last 3 weeks, we are not getting a lot of data from like the CPI PPI numbers, like the jobless claims data, because so far only the private companies are giving you that data. Like ADP numbers will come out, but from the labor bureau, those numbers won't come until you have the government back in action, right? Back opens up. So those are the things that are happening. So we do have jobless claims and CPI, but let's see if those numbers get released. If you notice, VIX is still high. VIX was at 21 last week. It's still, sorry, the week before 21, and now it's 20.7. It's a similar. Put to call hasn't really moved. It was 0.55, now 0.6. So a little bit bearish, but again, 5 days worth of data. Um, and then see, SPY was pretty flat, and QQQ was a 1% up. So
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I mean, from my point of view, obviously, we're kind of on the edge of extreme fear, but also at all-time highs. It's just a strange feeling. So you don't really know what to believe. I think it's just an important message just to trade the chart in front of you. Just be careful with your risk. Obviously, in this volatile market, because we're getting mixed signals. We're all-time highs, as I mentioned, almost at extreme fear, as I mentioned as well. So just just be careful when you're out there. We'll move on to the next slide then, while we're here, and I think it's earnings. So we're basically full into earnings season now. We've got big ones, obviously from Coca-Cola, Netflix, Tesla, and Intel, all across the top of the screen there. That's kind of all I have. I'm going to point out. So I'm looking forward to Tesla on Wednesday to see what they can do. That's the chart I'm covering today as well. Anything else on the screen here that puts up to you?
No, I think those are the only three names, honestly, that are of my interest. Maybe Lam Research, because it's kind of sort of in the semiconductor space, but I don't really track that name that much, so I will just probably just see how the sentiments are. But that's pretty much it. I'm really looking forward to the big hyperscalers, like after Tesla, Amazon, Apple, Meta. What's going on over there?
That's about that one there, isn't it? Lamb Research after close on Wednesday. So a couple of stocks for you to watch there on Wednesday. It'd be interesting. Yeah, okay. We'll move on from earnings. I think the week after is going to be a lot more interesting as well.
Yeah.
Lots more big names coming to fruition. Right. Okay. So the first charts of the day, we've got SPY daily chart on the left, and we've got QQQ weekly chart on the right as usual. The last week's trading, we kind of mentioned it a couple of slides ago, but it's kind of traded flat. Had a bit of a dramatic day on Tuesday, but we subsequently kind of bounced up from almost the lows that we had on Friday. Donald Trump has obviously been saying things throughout the week as he does, but the market generally, at the moment at least, likes it. We're kind of ploughing back above this volume profile here on the right side. So yeah, there's no reason why we don't just keep plugging higher, especially if these earnings reports do come in nicely for Netflix, Tesla, and obviously the weeks after that. And then, of course, on the right side, we've got the QQQ, and I've got a line here at 619. You may not be able to see that in such detail, but at 619, let's say 620 for argument's sake. Yeah, pushing up. We didn't quite get it the week before, but maybe we can make a push towards that 620. I know last week I was bearish, but I had a good reason to. Obviously, with that Friday candle, it was very, very rough. I thought perhaps that might continue, but of course, the market had other ideas. Should I say Donald Trump had other ideas? But yeah, what are your thoughts on these charts that we can see on the screen here? It's
Well,
interesting, isn't it?
I mean, charts are definitely interesting, but I think end of the day, the markets are driven based on tweets.
Yeah.
So, the Friday candle was, hey, we are going to have 100% tariff on China. In the middle of the week, we are saying, well, 100% tariff is not sustainable. So, I mean, at this point in time, you just take it with a grain of salt. And that's, I think, what ends up happening is that the market will, if at some point in time, or slowly starting to get immune to these, and that's when you will get blindsided, because the market is estimating that Donald Trump will always back off. So that is the general consensus, or that is the general sentiment, that okay, he will say something and then you'll have a pullback, but then he'll basically go back. The surprise would be that he says something and you have that same reaction, and he actually does not back and he follows through. The chance of that happening with China is very low, because, as they say, USA doesn't have the cards for many things.
Mm.
But if he actually ends up following through, that's going to be the black swan event that most of us are not expecting to happen. But I don't really see that happening. I really think that we probably have new all-time highs for November, December.
It's
That's what.
interesting how some data, well, some tweets basically at the moment are running the market, but before that it was kind of CPI reports. I see now with the CPI reports, they're not moving the market too much. I think it's because the market is kind of priced in for certain things in terms of inflation. But now people are waiting for, like you say, those tweets coming through from big people, Elon Musk, Trump as well. So
Yeah, and there's another undercurrent that is happening, and a lot of people are talking about it, along with on the CNBC and Bloomberg and everything. So the job market is becoming a little bit more tricky in nature. So there are not a lot of hiring, but they're not even firing. So what this also creates a lot of stress on the economy, because folks are not able if folks are staying in the same job, which means that their wage growth is only going to happen maybe 2%, maybe 3%, maybe 0% for the year, because they're not able to change jobs. And then if you have the population that needs to get a job and they are not getting the job, which means we are a consumer based economy, so now you're having an impact on the economy side. And the problem is that these data points, they are not like overnight. It's not going to change from a day to day. It takes weeks and months to build, to ultimately see. Now, does that mean that we won't see staggering quarter four, sales for Amazon and other retailers? I don't think so. We'll still have that holiday season, but I think this is going to build up. And you can see that the soybean side, or that's a big story on the farmer side, at least in the US, is that the China market is completely closed. So when are those things going to start to pile up into bigger problems? And then how does that impact macro level? But that's on the macro level. But at our level, how we are looking at the markets, I think we'll probably make newer highs November, December.
Yeah, I think it's important to think to some of these data points are actually lagging, aren't they, as well? So they're
Yeah.
kind of slightly behind. And the market typically is kind of prediction machine. It likes to see what's going to happen in 6 to 9 months' time, which is why you see all this price action happen like before rates start to cut. And then sometimes when rates cut, the market starts to come down because it's kind of pricing what's going to happen in the future. We'll go through a couple of comments while we're here. Eli Lilly needs insights on bio and this bull market. We'll get to that a little bit later on. JBD. JDBD. So I got that wrong. Money Managed, thanks for coming back once again, of course. PFE, Snow, Net, I'm sure Kaye's written them down already. And then we've got Tech Steve as well. What do you guys think about On and Arm? We'll get to know a bit later on. A couple of tickers I haven't heard for a while, so looking forward to getting stuck into those. We'll get back into the slideshow while we're here. Right, here we go. Okay, let's go through what we've got going on at the moment. We'll go through you then, Kay, first. Why not?
Yeah, pretty much the same as usual, man. It's on Twitter, YouTube, and Substack. Definitely feel free to subscribe, and a lot more interesting content coming up in the Q4.
Awesome, nice and short and sharp.
Short and
You
sweet.
can get you can get him at InvestK at pretty much all those platforms. And for me, you've got at Sean Trades _. I've been told off for not having the underscore before, but yeah, you can get me on X. I post daily there. The charts pretty much every before every market open. Of course, on YouTube as well. I've got a couple of videos coming out around kind of education and psychology. So looking forward to getting them out. You can hear my voice slightly going. So we'll move on to the next slide, and we'll go to our past performance. Last week you did win because I went short Tesla, and
Oh,
unfortunately
thanks a lot.
Tesla, so Tesla went up 3%. Even though Amazon went down 2%, you still won because the percentage kind of goes from there. So yeah, you're bringing it back. I mean, you've won 4 weeks in a row, and you've picked CRWV again this week. So
Yeah,
that could
because
be
the
a
setup
winner.
is again there. Setup is back there. So I'm like, why not?
Yeah, awesome. We're looking forward to getting into that. But yeah, a little bit of light-hearted competition we have here. Obviously, we're not picking stocks for that week, and we're more kind of picking them for the future and kind of every week you'll get our thoughts and feelings on that particular stock at the time. Just a little bit of fun that we like to put in every week. We'll move on to the next. Well, what's going on here? I've just frozen. Oh, there we go. So my pick of the week this week is again Tesla. And I'm going to go for the bull side instead of the short side because I know it sounds a bit contrary to what happened last time, but we did have a big red day, but we subsequently came back above this 20 moving average, which is this beige line kind of coming through the screen here. And we finished really nicely on Friday with a bullish engulfing candle. I know earnings are on Wednesday, and obviously it's completely skewed, which is why I've got a couple of lines on the screen here. The estimated move is 8%, so which puts us in a bracket of about 470 to 480 to the upside. If, of course, it goes 8% up, it could be completely wrong. And then obviously to the downside, we're kind of in that 400 to 410. I would probably like it at 400 to 410 because you've got that 50 moving average there, and obviously you have to depend on what kind of comes out with the report, etc. So it's going to be interesting on Wednesday, and I probably won't pick a side or trade it until Wednesday just to get that information from the report and see what Elon says if he's on the call, of course, due to kind of what's going on with the robotaxi event as we've talked about in the past, and then what's kind of happened with like Optimus robots and what the kind of outlook is for that. But yeah, lots to keep an eye on for Wednesday. But I like this stock. I think it's going to be volatile. I think it's going to be fun to trade. But of course, every trade needs to have managed risk. But yeah, just be safe if you are trading Tesla this week. Any thoughts on this one, Kay?
No, I'm really interested to know what is going to be the theme for next year, and what exactly is their the game plan for 2026, which will be the full, the hopefully the guidance that they gave us. And I told you, right, like 2 weeks back when I was going to the airport in the night, I saw two robo taxis, So I'm not sure if they're going to say something on the earnings call that they are starting to test in other markets, because I think that is what is also needed for the story to get more strength, right? That they are expanding outside of Austin. I mean, it might take them 6 months, but at least they are testing in the new markets. So that would be an interesting key point that I will be looking forward to, because at this point in time, I think the no matter how the Tesla fanboys want to spin the new Model Y that they have launched with $5,000 less, it's really, I mean, people who can buy a $45,000 car can also buy a $40,000 car, and people who can afford a $40,000 car, they can also buy that $45,000 car. So the pricing is complete BS for the value you are getting, because anyways you're going to finance that car, right? So you can get few $100 here and there, manage. But I really think if the company's trajectory is more autonomous vehicle and robotics, we really want to see what is the next step from here, not just talks it's going to happen sometime in the future, right? What's happening on the ground, because that is the one that is actually going to help the stock actually get some more momentum and speed towards that $500 target, which, by the way, many analysts are pointing to $500 now.
Yeah, I almost put something from tipranks.com on the screen here, which is kind of the average price of the kind of price target for the next year or so. But one person has put $19, so it kind of skews the kind of estimation slightly. But there's lows in the 500 to 600 range,
Yeah,
which really is not too far from here. If you see that green line on the screen there, that's 488. So if you just get back above that, which is all-time highs, then of course the volume will take the rest of it probably to 550, 600. So obviously not financial advice, it's just my kind of thoughts on how Tesla's moved in the past. So there's no reason why I can't do it again. But
exactly.
yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens this week. It's going to be an exciting week for Tesla investors and traders. We'll move on to your chart of the week, which is CRWV once again, 4 out of 5 weeks.
Exactly. And why do I have it? So I have few talking points here which I wrote down so I don't forget. Well, first of all, what is happening is you can start to see the consolidation that's happening at the range from what 100 and maybe let's say 30 to $35. That's the basically the range. That's where a couple things are happening. One is the fib level is zero point 0.5. That's retracing every single time back to that spot. You have the 100-day SMA, slowly creeping up, so it's getting the nice bounce from that level. You have the majority, the maximum trading that's happening there. So look at the volume profile. That's the point of control. So what does it show us? It shows us that we are in an equilibrium, right? We are neither when we are basically not going below this level because buyers are stepping in, and then as soon as we are reaching that 140 level mark, sellers are starting in to kind of sell. So there are a couple things that's happening. So this is the consolidation phase before either you'll get an expansion, which most likely is going to happen is because the AI trade is still in the play. Everybody is still talking about build up, because a lot of other companies and stocks are actually going to get impacted if there is any change in the narrative. So as long as that narrative stays intact, this consolidation of CoreWeave at these levels are basically a setup for the next leg higher. And then if it breaks that 145, which is getting rejected few times, you will probably see a much violent gap up to the levels of 150 and the 60s and so on. So I wouldn't be surprised that we would end up making a newer high, barring any change in narrative. And this is all narrative going on over here. As long as the narrative is there that yes, AI demand is there, we will see an expansion from these levels. But on the other side, if you do see that we see a continuous break below the 100 SMA and it's not holding that, then there might be an opportunity where you would like to hedge your bets with a put. So that's how I'm seeing the chart. Not saying next week you're going to have like a breakout or a breakdown. You might wait until the earnings, but this is something that's building up which could lead to that expansion.
Yeah, and you've been saying this for quite some time as well, because like I mentioned, you've had this 4 out of 5 weeks, which on the screen here, you can pretty much see the last 5 weeks have traded ever so slightly up, but also in a consolidating sort of pattern. And I still like it. I've still got shares. I'm still looking to possibly add more, especially kind of with the technicals we can see on the screen here. But if it was to come lower, like you said, I think I had 120. I think I spoke
Yeah,
about last
you
week.
had 120, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
120, I quite like if it does dip down. But I like the strength it's holding. I think it's important for viewers to understand that if the resistance is very, very strong, but if, of course, if we do get above that, that turns into strong support. So if we are going to get back above the kind of 150 level, maybe we push up to 160 and obviously retrace back down to 150. I'd like to see a lot of strength at these levels to obviously, make higher highs from there on outwards. I really like CoreWeave as always. Maybe sometimes I'll pick it in the weeks coming up.
Absolutely.
But I also like the story as well. It makes a lot of sense, especially if it's AI driven, which is obviously what runs the market at the moment pretty much. Nice RSI as well, kind of coming back down to normality around about that 50 mark as well, as you can see on the right side here. So yeah, I like CoreWeave. I really do. I'm sure lots of other people. Put it in the comments if you are watching, if you like CoreWeave. Kaye's pick of the week this week. Okay, awesome, fantastic. We'll move on to the. Well, actually, we'll answer this question we've got on the screen here first while I sort out the slides. But yeah, let's take that off for now.
Few
And we've got a
questions.
comment here from NASCAR All Out, which is what are the characteristics of stocks that see 10x moves intraday? Well, that's, I mean, volume would be the main characteristic, I would say. It's a bit of
Volume
his,
definitely drives it, uh,
yeah,
and some sort of, I mean, the news, which is a catalyst that would drive it, like the sentiment. Um,
it's not something you can predict. It's just something that happens. Um,
and I mean, I don't
Often
know,
on leverage.
as a retail trader, for your long-term longevity, is like, do you really want to? I mean, I think my heart cannot take a 10x move intraday.
No,
Um,
you'd be on leverage. You'd have to be on leverage, surely.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I would be sweating definitely if I have a 10x move intraday. But all jokes aside, I mean, volume is the case, and then there's definitely some sort of a news, and there's definitely insider information happening.
Yeah, I wouldn't go looking for these trades because although some of them do happen, obviously they're often on leverage. I wouldn't go looking for them. I'd probably go for a bit more of a steady strategy personally, but that's just me having my opinion, of course, and you're probably the same.
Yeah, I so if you look on YouTube, you look on Twitter, there are all sorts of traders. Like, folks love the zero DTE. They have a thrill, and they're successful. There is like really no reason to doubt that they're not successful. But I think everybody has a different risk management. There are different types of traders. Like, people, like, primarily a tech trader, and in the SaaS space, I generally am in that space. I don't have much interest in, let's say, food or healthcare or other, uh, some retail here and there. But there are other folks that who just love dividend, or they are dividend traders, right? They are doing dividends and they are
Mm.
trading. And then there are people who are, all sorts of, they'll trade wide variety spectrum. So there are different types of traders, and you just need to find what kind of a trader you are and what's your risk management. That's really is the key here. You need to know what you are good at, and what do you like and what do you prefer. I don't like a 10x intraday, man. My heart cannot take it.
No. We'll move on from that one then. And thank you for the comment there. And there's a couple more comments in this sort of thing, but I think we should move on to people's charts now because that's the segment that we're going to be covering. So yeah, let's jump into the audience requests. Obviously, keep them coming in. We had quite a few suggestions, so we'll get through those. And obviously, when you put yours up, we'll get through those as well. So what's up first, okay?
First is the Boeing BA.
We haven't listed this one for a while. Looks like it's I don't know what to make of this. Do you trade this one much at all, or not so much?
No, I do have positions for long term. I did not want to be a long term, but I ended up getting stuck in a long term position. So you can call it a bag holder for a second. Um, but this has been since, it was 2019. I had a position open. So the whole debacle right before the 737 drama, and then COVID hit, and it's just been a downhill story for this stock. Um, with that said, I think their latest change in management, and this is a very big company, very different type of a company. It will take time for the management to change. They also had a partnership with Palantir, so I really hope that all the changes that they're bringing in will eventually turn this company around. But that is also reflected in the stock price, that it's on the steady up. If you look at it, I mean, the stock has been steadily climbing for since April. Barring that dip, the stock has been climbing up. And so if you actually built a position at the lows, you're sitting pretty on BA. But for folks who invested maybe 5 years, 6 years back, they are like still bag holding the stock.
Yeah, I think when you were talking, I realised what we drawn last time. We've obviously covered this probably a few weeks ago now. I've got a line here at 200. It looks like quite an interesting line. Obviously, we tested the trend line, 200 moving average, and the 50 moving average all kind of coming in together. So if it can get down there, then that could be interesting for potentially. Well, leaps might be a bit interesting. Maybe not much volume in that, or volatility, should I say? But maybe picking up some shares just for a small kind of long-term swing position couldn't be too bad. We've got a couple of gaps up here to fill. Recently filled this one, so it does have a history of filling gaps. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely food for a run there. If that makes sense. Probably not
Yeah.
even a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Is APH. This is the first time I'm saying so. Amphenol Corporation. What does it do? Let's see.
we've obviously looked at it before because we've got a few lines on the screen. This is the
It's
weekly chart.
electronic components. So they are a subsidiary, design, manufacture, electrical, electronic, fiber optics, connects the US, China, and international markets. Okay. And while you're looking that up, so just to give you a little bit of a background, it's a $150, $153 billion market cap. So not a small company. They do pay dividend, and their dividend yield is 0.53. So nothing big on the dividend side, but still it's a dividend paying company. And short interest, you'll be surprised. Just take a guess on the short interest of this company.
2%.
0.77, what, less than 1%.
I wasn't far off. That's not too bad.
No, no, exactly, yeah. And pretty strong performance year to date, 80%, 81%.
Yeah, I mean the stock's been going really well. The only thing I would say is obviously while all of this is going up, this is fantastic. The actual relative strength is actually coming down. So perhaps at some point it does give way and we get a bit of a dip, maybe down towards this 111 level. That would be a good time to, in my opinion, add to the stock or add to the position if I had one. If it's been going on for quite some time, that's probably what's that, about 15% drop. So that's quite healthy.
And the earnings is next week on 10/22. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, I see it on the screen here now. So that would be a report to watch. What did I just do? How did I do that? Anyway,
and while you're fixing that, they have a record of not missing an earnings report. However, they're going to, their estimate for revenue will be slightly lower than the previous quarter, and the same goes with the EPS. However, they have a 14 up revision, a lot of hold ratings from the Wall Street though.
Okay, yeah, interesting. Not one I'll be trading, but it's one that's interesting to kind of add for long term potentially. Okay, what's next?
Yeah, next up is UNH.
If you are watching, don't be afraid to put your tickers in the comments. We're happy to look at anything. We've had some strange ones in the past. We've also had some normal ones in the past. So yeah, don't be afraid to put your tickers in. UNH, you talked to this one because you're a bit more active, I think, in trading this one than I am.
Yeah, so as you can see, it already filled one gap. And we talk about gap fills on this channel pretty much all the time, right? It is eventually going to fill that gap, the first gap as well. The question is when. And if you are swing trading this is going to be, first, it's a value, it's a good value stock, right? It's United Healthcare is the biggest health insurance company in the United States. It's now it has dropped down to 320 billion, but it was, I think, over a 400 billion dollar company at one point, of 450. So a pretty large company. I think that was definitely an overreaction on many accounts for UNH, and I think that was a great opportunity. And now everybody on CNBC, all the gurus are now suggesting you to buy at these levels. I still think that there's an upside. You could continue to build a position. I think 200-day SMA will be a challenge to break, and I think a lot hinges upon the ACA credits, which is the credits that are expiring. So how this So how this plays out in terms of the government shutdown, if they open up, if they don't open up, when they will open up, what is going to be the conversation. So if you are into UNH, I think following those news will definitely give you a little bit more edge compared to folks just randomly buying the stock. But hey, you're buying a value company below its 200-day and 300-day SMA, and you still have a potential for a decent return from here onwards. That's what.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. I think just kind of following the news there, just to keep up with what's happening with the credits, as you mentioned. I think that's important for people to follow. I've got the price label at the top there. 581 is the gap fill, pretty much. So a long way to go. It's well over. It's not quite 100%, is it? But it's
No, it's
all
about,
the way to.
yeah. But as you can see, the from the lowest point when it was around the 228, it was like intraday. It was very quick. From there to the first gap is 147%. Like for a $500 billion company, that move is massive.
Oh, massive. Yeah, huge. But it's also taken a massive move down. So,
Exactly, exactly. So
but yeah, I mean, the line I've got on the screen here is 323, I believe. I can see that yellow line here. I'll actually turn it green so that I can highlight what I'm talking about. I don't know why I've drawn this level here. We've obviously talked about it in the past. I think it might be the gap fill to the downside. Of course, we've got lots of resistance here in the past as well. So perhaps if we do come down to 323, I might look at it. I have held shares throughout this time. I've made a little bit of profit here and there, but I find it a bit more of a slower moving stock. So I kind of moved on to other things at that time. So yeah, I'm not interested in holding it really. I'm just interested in trading it here and there.
yeah.
No, okay, sweet. What's next?
Next is Lily, LLY. Let me see if there's any specific news on this one.
We haven't covered this one for ages.
Yeah. So
Lovely.
seems like Eli Lilly falls on or for, I don't know how to pronounce this, FDA voucher exclusion, Trump on weight loss meds. So there's always something to do with the something is always going on. So this is what happened. So during a press conference in the Oval Office to announce price cuts for the vitro fertilization drugs, Trump hinted that he is eyeing discounts for NVO Ozempic, approved for type 2 diabetes but used off-label as a weight loss therapy. So I'm not sure how that is related to. Is Ozempic Lilly's product? No, right? That's a Novo Nordisk product.
Yeah, it's in the same bracket though. I mean, Hims gets affected by what Lilly does as well. So they're kind of all in the same sort of bracket. They do different healthcare kind of medications. I've got a comment here from Ranking Insight on the screen here. Sean trades. What indicators are you using here? What are the EMAs, SMAs, etc.? I'll start from the SMAs I've got on the screen. Not SMA. I've already started wrong. The EMAs. So I've got estimated moving average here. No, exponential. Sorry,
Exponential. Yeah.
exponential estimated. I literally always say that, even in my videos. I always cut that out on my post edit. Exponential moving average from 20 to 50 and the 200 kind of flowing through the screen here. I don't use them to trade. I just use them as like a trend indicator, just generally. Making sure that if it's a smaller time frame, I make sure it's ticking in the right direction if I'm in a particular trade. And quite often I will trail my stop loss up behind the 20 moving average. To say this stock broke out, it went up to kind of 1,000, something like that. Obviously, the 20 moving average would kind of follow up behind it, and I'll just trail my stop loss up behind that as an example. Down here, I've got the RSI, just very simply. I've got the MACD as well. Again, I don't really use them to enter trades. I tend to use the trend lines and support and resistance as entries, and obviously volume as well on the right side here. This one is volume profile, which I think is paid, but you can see, well, if I get that out of the way, VRWP. There you go. Visible range volume profile. If you can see that, just about see that in the top left-hand corner. So hopefully that helps you. Going back to the chart though, I would like to see, this is the weekly chart while we're on here. I would like to see very simply a proper break from either to the upside or to the downside. We are above the 20 and the 50 moving average and lots of volume on the right side. So the likelihood is we get a bit of a bounce to the upside here, which we've kind of done in the later parts of last week, which is nice to see. But I really want to see that break to the upside from the actual trend lines. I have to be a bit more patient here, get that break, maybe a retest, perhaps it's intraday or intra-week. Get that retest, and then we can really make a move towards that kind of 1,000 to 1,100 mark. That would be ideal. So I've written this down on my Well, I'm going to write this down on my watch list for this week for sure.
And the earnings is 2 weeks from now on 30th October 30th.
That is this vertical line Kaye is talking about there. So not far at all.
Yeah.
Awesome. What's next?
Next is PFE. I think that's Pfizer.
It is, yeah. Ooh, healthcare.
Yeah, today has been a healthcare. Well, we have some non-healthcare coming up after this. Let's see.
Okay.
Pfizer. Pfizer is reporting earnings on 11/4, just so you know.
Yeah, so a couple of weeks. That is also the vertical line on the screen there. It's had a really interesting couple of weeks, hasn't it, really? More actually 3 weeks. Pumped up really nicely for a couple of days. That must have been news related, and subsequently come all the way back down and below the moving averages. So it's not ideal, this price action at all, especially if you're bullish for the long term, because it's just rejected this line of about 27 and just come right back down, even below the moving averages, as I mentioned. I'm not excited about this at all from a trading point of view. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
I think, yeah, I tend to. I think for me, I personally find healthcare to be very a complex subject. So half the time I don't even understand what's going on. But you actually have a good comment from Ranking Insight on why the price moved for Lilly. If you want to pull that up.
Yep, it's up on the screen. So we've got Zepbound is Lilly's competitor to Ozempic. So anything Trump says about GLP-1s will have a huge effect on two companies, Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly. So yeah, definitely worth keeping an eye out for. I think it also affects HIMSS. If I'm
It
not
does.
wrong.
It does, because
The general.
I think that
Yeah.
was another reason why I think Novo broke the contract, was because HIMSS was also pushing the generic version of these weight loss drugs. And then I think Novo also had a tie-up with Costco, where Ozempic will be available in Costco.
Wow. Lots of battles to be had, for sure. But going back to the PFE chart, if we do get some more negative price action, I do expect this trend line to be broken to the downside, and perhaps there's no gaps to fill, but perhaps just coming down to a bit of volume, which again, there's not really much volume. I'm just not interested in this stock at all. Sorry to whoever brought this up, and that's probably not very helpful, but maybe it is helpful. Maybe it's a confirmation of don't get in this trade. But yeah, we'll move on. What's next?
Next is Snowflake.
This is one of yours.
Yeah, Snowflake.
One of your picks? Is it one of your picks of the year?
Well, Snowflake was one. Tesla, Nvidia. Let me see what else. I think there was Uber.
Uber, yeah, Uber was one
All of them
for sure.
did well this year. Let me see. So yeah, Nvidia, Tesla, Google, Uber, and Snow. Those were the top 5 picks for the 2025.
And you're doing all right, aren't you?
Yeah, I will do. But see, I mean, from a Snowflake standpoint, I think what the market is starting to realize, or I think we definitely had an overreaction on Snowflake. And since we talked about Snowflake last year, we were in the range of the $100 range, $120 range. That's when we were talking about Snowflake. The stock is basically doubled from there, if you think about it, right? It's like 133% up since we brought this up last year. And there are, of course, other stocks in the market that have given you 500, 600%. That's not to say that Snowflake is also a much more a company that at least we trade often. I think their earnings are going to come up. When is their earnings coming up? 11.
I've got the 26th of November.
Yeah, and I think they are going to be expected to beat the earnings, because we have a 38 up revisions on the stock. So out of the 41 analysts covering, 38 are saying they're going to beat the earnings. So nothing to be surprised about. And I think the same question: what are they doing on the AI, and how are they monetizing the AI? Because now it's all monetization aspect, just like Salesforce and other SaaS companies, right? How they're monetizing it. I mean, I can give you an example. It's not related to Snowflake, but in the SaaS world, all these other software companies. So I'll give you an example for Monday.com. So one of the way they are monetizing it is they are building these features, AI features, within the tool itself. And what they are doing is they are selling these AI credits. So what they'll do, they'll say they'll give you 500 credits free. And they'll say, okay, these are the different, let's say 5 AI features, and you can use these AI features. Every time you use the feature, you'll use a credit. And what they're saying, okay, 500, after 500 free credits, hey, go ahead and buy 10,000 credits from us or 5,000 credits from us, and we're going to charge you X dollar amount. So that just opens a new revenue stream for these companies. So they are building all these AI based features which uses credit, which is separate from the seat, which is, you have to buy a seat to use the product, the paid version. So that is a very interesting revenue source that they have kind of featured. And now what is happening in a lot of these SaaS softwares, they're eliminating the need for having an IT team altogether, because you can now use their AI features to completely transform your business function. So long-winded story. I think Snowflake, I'm still very bullish on it. Honestly, I don't have a position, by the way. I did sell my position after a run-up, but I'm still bullish on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say you sell a position here. I'm looking to kind of almost get in, which sounds a bit silly. Maybe wait a few weeks just for the earnings to play out and the 20 million to kind of come up behind this support resistance line. But this is the weekly chart we've got here. Lots of resistance and support over here. Same again with the resistance kind of February of last year. And obviously we've kind of come up nicely, kind of slowly as well. Bounced off the 200 moving average, and we've got this 50 moving average coming through the 200, which is typically a golden cross in technical trading. And now, of course, technical trading is not everything, and we do need to see the fundamentals, but clearly the fundamentals are kind of aligning
Yep.
with the moving averages as well. So perhaps this one is an exciting stock for the future, even more, shall we say.
And
I've written it down, but I'm not too sure how to really initiate a position. But if I do, you'll see it on my X channel as well.
just to
People
wrap this conversation up before we move to the next ticker, is you're also seeing the sentiment on the retail side also shifting on Snow. So you're starting to see a lot more positive talks from the retail side. It used to be one of the retail favorite stocks actually when it IPO'd.
again, that sometimes that's all it needs, just a little bit of attention.
Some love, some TLC.
Yeah.
Next is
Awesome. What's next?
Net.
Cloudflare. Wow, I haven't seen this one for a while either.
Yeah, I mean this stock has been on a run as well. I mean this is one stock that I missed completely.
Yeah, same. We had this massive drop, didn't they? When was that? February of this year, all the way down to April. So to kind of follow the market, but I think it went a bit more than the market, because it went over half its value, pretty well, almost. It just roared back, obviously along with the market, but in quite incredible fashion. Kind of came to
153% from the April lows.
Yeah. It kind of came to make all-time highs here, which is really, perhaps we are making a bit more of a bull flag. Let's jump into the daily. That was the weekly chart. Not quite a bull flag, but we are kind of dropping down below the 50 moving average, which isn't great, and below all of this support. So perhaps give it some time to breathe. Maybe wait for earnings, which look like they're on the 20th of October, which again is that kind of pink line in the screen there. So yeah, I think probably waiting for this stock to kind of play out over the next couple of weeks and waiting for that news report, earnings report, should I say, would be the best way to look at this one, I think, in my opinion. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's definitely on my radar, but I always end up missing this Cloudflare.
It's just one of those, isn't it? Like I've missed Netflix so many times. It's just one of those stocks that just escapes me. It's really annoying, but yeah. It happens. It happens.
Next is on semiconductor.
Okay, here we go. On semiconductor, not quite following all the other semiconductor names. Maybe this one's perhaps less AI driven. Just a wild thought. Do you know much about on semiconductor?
I know that Nate used to love actually on semiconductor.
He did, yeah. He loved to trade it, didn't he?
Yeah.
The weekly chart suggests also a continuous negative pattern. We've got the 20 moving average, 50 moving average, and the 200 moving average all above the current trading price action. Well, not quite the 20, kind of thereabouts. Lots of volume here. Perhaps if we can get through this volume, you can make a push up to 70. But still, there's too much negativity. There's too much resistance, should I say, in the way for me to kind of get into this. Yeah.
Yeah. Even
ultimate trend line, yeah.
I mean, if I'm looking at the fib levels, I would say that we are at the 38, so we could actually see a climb towards the 50. which could be a $3, right? 52 to 55, that play with the earnings. But yeah, it's an interesting, especially the these some of these candles on the on, these huge red candles.
Yeah, it's one here.
Like look at the, like they are really engulfing the entire chart over here. It's like,
This one here is not even earnings. That's just
yeah,
a big drop from 64 all the way to 54 in a couple of days. That's almost 10%, almost 20%, should I say?
crazy.
Yeah, a tricky one. I'd rather trade Nvidia, AMD, those names, to be honest. I think they're a little bit more reliable. Not reliable, but just a little bit more reliable when it comes to semiconductors, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Next is ARM.
Another semiconductor-related name.
Yeah, and it started to gain a little bit more traction. I'm also noticing a lot more channels talking about ARM now, on X as well. So that's interesting.
I wonder why I've got a line here already, but I don't know why I would have drawn it there. I've not looked at this stock for a while. I know it came up about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah,
So that must be related to that somehow.
I think so.
So we've got previous all-time highs, I think this is. Yeah, it must be. At 189, let's say. So maybe we're making a move towards that. We've got earnings just around the corner as well at
11.5.
11.5,
Yeah.
which again is the pink line on the screen there. So perhaps we can kind of make a move into all-time highs, which again is this line here, but I'll just make it green for reference. So all-time highs is the green line. If we can make a nice move towards that, kind of almost playing into the earnings report, and then what happens then is a complete, it's a binary event, as we've spoken about many times on these streams. It can either go up 10%, down 10%, for example. I wouldn't be playing this. Well, I could play it into earnings potentially because it is above the moving averages. It's above these highs. So you could potentially take a trade here, but I see other more appealing opportunities. But what would you do in this situation? Would you just leave it alone, or?
So the one way that I generally look at earnings trade is I tend to play the same tickers on earnings. So this is not something that I have done before. So if I want to play this one, I will have to actually kind of like look at the older earnings trade. Now here's an interesting data on that. Um, I was looking at the performance for ARM since they have went IPO'd. They have not missed a single EPS or revenue until the previous quarter. So previous quarter they missed on the revenue, and their EPS came in line. And I think that's probably one of the reasons. If you go look at the previous earning, did we have a drop on the previous earning? Can you see that?
We did, yeah. So this
Yeah.
this is the previous earnings here. We had a drop from 161 on the day it finished 141. So pretty big drop.
So that was very interesting, right? That's probably also, so unless you follow the company itself, is what was the exact reason why it dropped? I don't know, honestly. But honestly, I mean, I don't know. It's like I probably am not going to trade this one. I mean, I would sit out to after the earnings.
Yeah, I
I,
mean, I like this little move here. If tomorrow it had a bit of negative price action down to 160 or 159, or even Tuesday, Wednesday, I wouldn't hate getting into this just for the run into the earnings. With a nice tight stop loss around 150, so it's not too bad. You could probably buy some month out calls as well, potentially, depending on what the volatility is like, the volume is like. In terms of buying calls going into earnings, have you experienced any of that in the past? I'm sure you probably have.
yes, the problem is if you are buying the calls that are expiring on the week of earnings, um, most of the earnings they get reported after hours for most of the companies that at least I am trading. Only few of them actually report before market open. And if it's like a Wednesday, Thursday, the theta decay will basically kill your entire trade if you're not fast enough in executing that trade, whether it went your way or not. So the way sometimes we play earnings is, instead of having the options expiring on the week of earnings, you're looking a week or 2 weeks out from there. So that gives a little bit more time leverage that you have on that trade. But the problem is, if it goes against you, that pretty much is going to take off the entire value, unless you have a very good tight stop loss to get out of that trade.
I think that's good advice. I'll take that on board for sure. Maybe not. Okay, we've got 8 minutes left. We've probably got about 4 or 5 tickers, so we'll rattle through these last few. Obviously, we'll get to. I've got a comment on here from Kel's Grow. Intel will definitely at least aim to finish with that for sure. So don't go away just yet. Oh, didn't mean to do that. I've got a question. Here we go. Anthony Aranda, how you think BYND is going to do? Respects. Thank you.
Oh, the Beyond Meat.
We'll get to that. So we do that after Intel. So we'll rattle through the next few. What we got next? Okay.
Next is PLPC. It's Performed Line Products Company. It's
$225.
$1.1 billion market cap. What do they do? They design, manufacture products and systems that are used in construction and maintenance of overhead, ground-mounted, and underground networks for energy. So maybe the audience is probably looking for a play with the electrical components and equipment. Okay, interesting.
It's had a pretty interesting week. So we started obviously a big red day on the Friday before, which was obviously what the market produced, and then Monday we started at 206, let's say 207, and we kind of finished at 225. So it's had a really good move this week. So there must have been some sort of news come out. I've got no badges down here that suggest that, but
so they definitely declared a dividend, but I'm assuming
Okay.
this was already a dividend paying company.
It seems like it, doesn't it? That kind of industry.
Oh, so seems like there is some sort of a revision that came by, I think some company. They delivered a strong Q2 result with revenue up, blah blah blah. Okay.
So what the normal volume is like. Let's have a look. Yeah, the volume has definitely increased, but it's seen more volume in the past. So perhaps it could be a nice indication of continued volume to the upside. That's what I would like to see for the trend to follow out. If the volume was to kind of deplete slightly, I would definitely look at this 201 level, maybe even 205, that sort of area, to come back down and retest and move higher. That would coincide with the 50 moving average, which has acted as support in the past, which you can see here on the screen. And again, here on the screen, obviously a few more times in the past as well. So probably not the 20 moving average that I would be looking at. It's definitely the 50 moving average. So this sort of area here, let's draw a circle to kind of show what I mean there. Okay, what's next?
Next is AMKR.
Core technology, is that right?
Mm-hmm. And what do they do? They are into semiconductor as well. They provide outsourced semiconductor packaging and test services in US, Japan, Europe, and Asia Pacific. It offers turnkey packaging and test services, including semiconductor, wafer bump, wafer probe, wafer backgrind stuff. Okay, a lot of stuff they do. Okay, let's see. What is their earnings?
In the last year, the volume has definitely increased, just generally. You can kind of see it on the screen down there. You carry on.
Yeah, no, so basically their revenues did bump up from 1.3 billion to 1.5 billion from Q1 to Q2, which actually bumped at their gross profit as well. And let's look at the net income went up from 21 million to 55 million. So
Wow, so they're profitable.
yeah, and let's see. And on the rating side, Wall Street has a buy rating, but majority are on the hold for this.
Yeah, I'm not surprised with the run they've had. It's been over 100% since April. This is the weekly chart we're looking at. It's above all of 3 moving averages. We're getting a nice turnaround, obviously indicating a potential golden cross coming up. For the weekly chart, that's pretty good. But I would hesitate to buy here for sure, especially for the shorter term. Maybe for the longer term, it doesn't matter too much if you expect it to come back up to 43, which is a good kind of 30% away. But I think coming back down to this sort of level, this volume, we can see around that 26, 27 sort of area. That would be quite nice to see, I think, in the following weeks to come. That's probably about a 15% drop thereabouts. Let's have a look at that.
Yeah. And I think from
Yeah, 15%.
the brief 1 minute, 2 minute of a quick surface level research we did, seems like that this is more of a trade because of your primary semiconductor bull run that we are having. So these, of course, all the companies that are somehow providers, vendors to these larger companies, they're going to benefit as well. So I can totally see why folks are starting to look at these other plays apart from your traditional Nvidia and AMDs of the
Yeah.
world.
Is this one that interests you then, or not?
It's definitely going to be on my watch list for sure. I'm definitely going to putting it on my watch list, but I don't know enough about it to make educated guess here that whether I want to get into for long term or medium term.
I know we said we we're going to rattle through these. We actually spent quite a few minutes on that. Let's rattle through these then. What's next?
UROY, it's uranium. So
Okay, this is a very small penny stock. It's $4. We've come up to all-time highs ish recently. This last week, come up to 537. I would say, I don't know. I wouldn't say anything. It's a penny stock. It's hard to predict anything. I mean, Friday had a 10% drop day. I would probably expect it to continue downwards, perhaps towards this 50-minute average. But of course, it's hard to say. Yeah, I'll be staying away from this one personally. Maybe the gap fill here.
yeah.
Okay, what's next?
IOVA, it's biotherapeutics. It's less than $1 billion market cap, so it's also a penny stock.
$2 stock here, building a nice base potentially. If you see this stock kind of moving forward, definitely aiming for the gap fill here, kind of 521, which is well over 100%. The risk to reward on this is not too bad. If you kept a nice tight stop loss, perhaps maybe down to 194, you're only really losing 10%. If you're a very small part of your portfolio, sorry, that's not too bad, I think, to have as a potential trade moving higher. Maybe not even the gap fill. You could probably just come up to this kind of $4 level, which is the most recent big high that we've had back in July, which is not actually that long ago. Okay,
And one thing before we jump on, I think the one way you could play it is to not tie up your capital on buying hundreds and hundreds of stocks, right? You can actually just use call options, long dated call options.
Perfect. Yeah.
That way, if you are looking for that maybe upside that happens that might not be tracking, you will be able to cover that just in case that happens. And then if you lose, you're only losing the value of the call option that you're buying. So you can actually lotto it as a call option here rather than tying up that much cash. Okay, moving on to the next one is NKLR, which is also a $1 billion company. And what do they do actually?
They're very new. Literally,
Nuclear reactor. Okay.
I'm not going to suggest anything on here at all because it's
there's not
10
enough
candles on here.
Exactly. Next is INTC, Intel.
So here we go. Big one. They promote earnings, I think, on Thursday. Is it earnings on Thursday?
Yeah. Wednesday or Thursday, I think they're reporting earnings. Yes.
Yeah, Thursday after the market close. We've got that line on the screen as usual. Obviously, they built a massive base recently. I think we spoke about this last week, actually. Do you want to talk to this one? More so your sort of stuff.
Honestly, I think after the U.S. government has taken their stake in it, and I really think that they have to start to deliver results. It's not just the backing, right? Because most of the run up that happened was because the government taking a stake in the company. It's not because that they started selling more. They actually did miss on the top line. They missed their EPS by 11 cents. So hopefully that we will actually have a positive EPS this time around. That's what they are expecting, and the revenue will be 13.11 billion, which is higher than the previous quarter. Unfortunately, there's a 25 down revision on the company from the analysts. Out of the 28, 25 are saying basically saying it's going to go down.
That's interesting. You don't normally get that sway to the downside, do you? Especially for such a big name.
Yeah, but also this run up was basically on the sentiments that the US government has taken a stake. It's not because the company is performing.
Of course, yeah, as you mentioned. No, but it's interesting going into earnings is what I mean. So it could be a potential
But
very small part of the portfolio gamble type thing.
yeah, but let's say if we see that reaction, and then generally we revert back to the mean, where it starts to pull down towards the 50-day SMA. That's you could play as a put
That's
if
what I
you
mean. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of doing. Yeah,
right.
I mean, puts into earnings. Okay, that's I think we've covered quite exciting things there on Intel. We'll move on to the last stock of the day, which I think is
Beyond,
BYND.
yeah,
This is
I
one of
think
those stocks I haven't seen for about 5 years.
this was a COVID stock. It's unfortunately, I feel like it might even get delisted. It's 65 cents.
Well, it was up 24% on Friday. How was that even possible?
Must have been a short interest.
Okay, it went from 54 to 64, so that makes sense. Wow, this stock has been really beaten up.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
wow, where's the lows? Is this ultimate lows? It is, yeah.
my God, what happened to this company? they
Did they
they
stop selling meat or something? Or not
No,
meat,
so
should
they
I say?
used to make, revenues in 300 million, 400 million, like in 2022, 2023. Their last quarter's revenue was 75 million. It's basically contracting. At this point in time, this they probably will get delisted. Um, or they'll have to do a reverse split, right? There's not many options on the table here.
No, I mean, I wouldn't be trading this. Even YOLO calls just don't seem that likely at all.
Because see, YOLO calls works in biotech. YOLO call works in those penny stocks that have some sort of a catalyst that's coming in. Unless there's a
Yeah,
catalyst where this company is being bought by another company, or for some reason, I would just stay away. I mean, I think probably will get better ideas for those YOLO calls than just going with Beyond Me. This is pretty much a dead business at this point in time.
yeah. So, okay, we'll finish there. I think that's enough to. Hopefully, that's all right for you, Anthony. Where am I going? What am I doing? Here we go. Get rid of that. Busy week coming up. We've got some CPI coming up on Thursday. Thank you very much, all of you, to putting your tickets in. We really appreciate it. We've come up with quite a few ideas. I've written down 5 names there, so that's always nice to have on a Sunday evening going into the week ahead. Of course, I've got my normal names. Kaye's got his normal names as well, but we always like to see more stocks, and hopefully we've provided enough insight to give you a bit more perspective with the week going into and in October, of course. I'm kind of rambling a little bit. I told you I lost my voice, but yeah, make sure you obviously look after your trades, you manage your risk well going into this week. It's going to be very volatile as always. We've had lots of big moves in the last probably 3-4 weeks now. And dangerously enough, it doesn't seem like it on the surface of it. The market's actually moving that much, but the volatility is coming in, the emotions are coming in. So I think we're due for a potential rough market ahead, not to the red side, but just rough in terms of volatility, shall we say? I am kind of rambling a little bit. Kate, let's have you take us into the close here. But I just want to say thank you for everyone watching from my side, and obviously a massive thank you to Wolf as well for support the stream here today and continuously on to the future. So yeah, Kate, take it away.
All right. So I think the key is that if you don't trade earnings and you don't feel comfortable, I think stay out of earnings. There is really no need to take earnings trade. You can always sit it out. And then I think the key names that we talked about, all the folks that are reporting earnings like Intel and Tesla and Netflix. I don't see many users actually asking for Netflix, but Netflix is a pretty solid business, honestly. But anyway, so with that said, stay safe, enjoy your trade, and we will catch you next week. This
Yeah,
this week
next.
did not miss a single ticker.
Yeah, no, we didn't. We had them all lined up and we got to all of them. As Kay mentioned, obviously we'll be back next week, 1 p.m. Eastern time, so make sure you get in for that. When do your clocks go back, actually, Kay, over there?
Oh, good question. I don't know. Maybe in 2 weeks.
Either way, I'll either move 1 hour forward or 1 hour back. So it's not an issue. We'll get to it. So make sure it's 1 p.m. Eastern time. Me and Kay will sort out through the week. And take care, guys. Have a great week. Trade safe. And we'll see you soon. Take care, everyone.
Bye.